right, let's go.
Let's do this. So today we're talking about 6 tips that I guess I would say they completely changed my entire perspective of money. But we're actually reading this off of a guy named Ian Builds Wealth on Instagram. And so these are his tips, but I really liked them a lot. So I'm kind of borrowing them because I feel like, if I remember right, I think I completely agree with each one of them. We'll confirm that in a minute. But
I would like to add one, but I'll add it at the end.
Good.
Oh.
I love it. So it's going to be 7. We'll change it to 7 tips.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll dive right in. All right, so the first one's that W-2 income won't make you rich. And he says if I make just over $50K, I'm taxed around 22%. At the same time, if I make $50K in long-term capital gains, I'm taxed at 15%. So the government rewards income from investments over wages. And this is why you see a lot of really wealthy people trying to move more of their things they're being taxed by from investments rather than actual wages.
But I think a lot of people would argue that you have to actually make some income in order to have money to invest.
Oh, yeah, of course. No, but the point is that if you can be taxed on something at 15% rather than 22%, you know, and there's strategies beyond this as well. We won't get into all that right now.
So what he's saying is focus on getting as much money into investments as you can because you're going to be taxed less on it. And that's what's going to ultimately make you rich.
Yeah, I think that's one way to think about it. Like, this isn't here's your step-by-step 5-minute thing to do. It's more of a mindset shift. Okay. And the wealthy think more in terms of that.
Gotcha.
And, you know, probably because of the way it's set up, long-term capital gains, we should say. Short-term capital gains is anything less than a year. But long-term capital gains tax, for anybody who doesn't know what that is, basically it's when you earn money on your investment. So you buy Apple stock at $100, you sell it at $120, you only pay $20 on that.
Okay, yeah. Okay. And you only pay capital gains tax on the $20.
Yep.
Okay.
So anyway, so that's like the first lesson. And I remember, I've hearing about this, I don't know, probably 15, 20 years ago or something, and just being like, whoa, that's interesting. Like, because you would think that you pay the same amount of tax regardless of how you earn the income.
Oh, but you don't.
But no, you know, and so it's just good to know. It's like, all right, if this is the way the game works, these are the rules of the game. It's good to know the rules.
Yeah,
right?
That's good.
So that's the first one.
Number 2.
Next on the list, invest your money or inflation will take it away from you.
Yeah, and I've heard you talk about this.
Yeah, I have talked about this.
It's like, don't hide it under your mattress.
Yeah.
Because the rate of inflation is just too high.
Yeah. And so he goes on to say average inflation over the last 60 years is 3.8%. Compare that to the average return of the S&P. He says, which is around 7%, and I don't really think that's accurate. Anyway, I guess it depends on, maybe the last 16 years it is. But I generally see or talk about averages at S&P closer to 9%. Yeah, because depending on when you're looking at it from.
Well, either way.
Yeah, doesn't really matter. Point is that it's
2% is splitting hairs, yeah.
Where it's more than inflation. And at the time of this recording, inflation is still way over that. Inflation, I think last I checked, is in the 6% range.
Oh, yikes.
You know, and it's been like this for, I don't know how long we're at it, maybe 6 months now at the time of this recording. So the point is that, yeah, you don't want your money being eroded away by inflation.
Yeah.
Right? That's no fun.
Right.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I don't. I sure don't.
You know, and so that's one of the beautiful things about investing for the long term. And again, like, I'm a big fan of investing in S&P 500. You know, there's ebbs and flows. Like, that's the thing you need to understand. But when you can see the long-term perspective and not be freaked out that it went down 20% this year, but you can see the long-term perspective of the last 100 years, and just know that it's going to be a little bit of up and down, but it's trending upwards or has consistently. I don't know. It makes it feel to me like a safer place to put my money than under the mattress and watching it get eroded away. So,
or at least not all your money under the mattress.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, that brings up a whole nother point of prepping for doomsday and wanting some cash. In which, just as a side note, like I don't at all think it's a bad idea to have some cash at home. I think everyone should have some cash at home, and I don't think it's a bad idea to have some gold. I don't think it's a bad idea to have a lot of things stored up at home.
Bottles of water.
Yeah, lots of different stuff. So,
something.
So we're not at all saying that,
right?
But yeah, all right. Should we go to the next one?
Yes, next one.
Number three. You do it.
Buy things that make you money, not things that cost you money.
Yep. And I think I did a whole podcast about this, about how this is one of the most impactful financial lessons that I got from.
We've talked about this a lot.
Robert Kiyosaki. Buy assets. Buy assets. Buy assets. Buy assets. Spend your money whenever possible on things that are going to increase in value, or at a minimum, like not go down in value very fast.
Or, even more minimum, just that will make you happy at least for a little bit.
So, I mean, and I think...
like ice cream.
Yeah, because that's the thing.
Most always a good idea.
You have to eat. So you are always going to be putting money into some things that are going to lose all their value.
Right.
So it's not a question of all of it. It's a question of...
as much as you can.
Trying to move in that direction of putting more money into things that are going to grow in value.
Right. And we've done this idea before, you have wanted to buy... You bought our son a Nintendo Switch, or you bought it for the family.
Yep.
And I said that is a terrible idea because this was a few years ago, and I was like, I do not want to I don't want to be the video game family. Well, you said your answer to me was, if we don't like this or we don't like where it's going, we can sell it. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I went on to eBay. How much
All
can I
right.
sell this for? Okay, I can sell it for $30 less than we bought. Worst case scenario, we're out $30 and some fees or something.
And ended up working out. So that makes a lot of sense to me. So you're losing minimal amount of money.
And I think this leads to, I don't know if you've probably heard this phrase because you love clothes, and you probably have a lot of people who view this as their gospel, but this idea that buying cheap is actually expensive.
Yes.
Because I think there are a lot of things like that where the more expensive name brand product, I talk about this in the book a little bit, but oftentimes that will hold its value better than the cheapest thing on the shelf.
Right.
And so you might be able to save a little bit of money at the moment, but over the long term, when you try to sell the item or get rid of it, it's going to have a whole lot less value. And that's why sometimes spending a little bit more at the beginning, 10% more, to go up a brand or two in quality,
you can end up selling it later.
Yeah, can just work out a lot better.
Instead of just sending it to Goodwill or, whatever. Yep. All right, number 4, spend less than you make.
Yeah, and everyone's heard this one.
Everyone knows
I
this.
can't imagine there's anyone listening to this podcast who has not heard this phrase before, but there's a good reason. It's like a lot of times cliche phrases are cliche for a reason.
Right.
It's because it actually works.
True.
And it's actually like the thing you need to do.
Right.
And I think that's one of the beautiful things about, I don't know, some of the most profound things are really simple. And it's like, and I know it's easier said than done, but it just is the truth,
Yeah.
Like when you're spending more than you earn, you can't get ahead.
You can't get ahead.
It doesn't matter how much you earn.
I can attest to this. I did this. I tried it out, so you guys don't have to.
Thank you.
That's our job here, is to try things out
for us.
No, but I did. I mean, that was my entire lifestyle before we got married, was how fast can I spend 50% more than what I'm making.
What percentage of your income can you spend? Can I spend 150% of my income? How long can I make that last?
How long can I sustain this?
Yes. All right. Number 5.
Every time you get paid, pay yourself.
Yes.
Treat yourself. Just kidding.
Completely agree.
Treat your
pay yourself
401k.
First, pay yourself first, and then treat yourself. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
we would add to this, of course, giving.
Well, see, and that was going to be the thing that I added. That was my 7th.
I just stole your
just
thunder.
took it.
Great. Well, that's number 6, so we just did that.
Well,
So pay yourself.
let's do his number 6, and then we'll talk more about giving. So go ahead.
So yeah, paying yourself, again, this would be adding money to some sort of savings, adding money to whatever, 401k or whatever, but just, yeah, it's just amazing. So I'm 42 years old now, and I remember being in my young 20s and having that mindset of, well, I got so much life to live. Like,
Yeah.
whatever, it's going to be fine. I don't need to do this now. I'll set it up later. And it's amazing how fast later comes. Like, it goes fast. It goes fast.
When you're in school, later is forever. And then once you get out of school, bam.
And it's like
20 years goes by all of a sudden.
Yeah, somehow I thought like I would just be this like completely different person than I was then, but I'm still the same person, but just time has elapsed. Like, it's, I don't know, it's such a real weird thing to kind of wrap your brain around. But point is, now is the time.
Now
if you're not
is the
doing it,
time.
and make it automatic. Make it automatic. And I
Yes.
think is that his number? No, he doesn't talk about that. But anyway, doing that and making it automatic, yeah, like it's just so powerful.
So that you don't have to think about it.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny, like we do talk about almost every single one of these points in the book. So
Yeah.
if you need more on this, dive into
And
the book,
in
Simple Money Rich
TFF
Life.
too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Number 6,
Number 6.
compounding interest is your best friend. Growth on growth is
I thought you were my best friend.
well, yes. I didn't write this, son. That's his best friend. You're
But
my
you
best
said
friend.
you agree with everything he
Not
says.
this one. No.
Not this
Compounding interest is my, whatever, third best friend. How about that? Growth on growth is like a boulder going downhill. It's hard to start, and it may inch along at first, but once it gets going, watch out. Everything you're doing is leading up to that momentum. Keep it up. And this is, there is a chart.
Yeah, didn't somebody say this is like the seventh wonder of the world or something like that?
Einstein apparently said something like that too. There's a chart, again, I wrote this in the book. This is in the chapter 29, where I have this chart like showing what progress is actually like. Because I think so many of us tend to think that progress, financial progress, or
It's just
any
straight
other
uphill.
like it's a linear, path that just moves up at like a 45-degree angle or something like that. But the reality is that most things, and especially when it comes to financial stuff, like paying off debt or trying to build, money or save money for retirement or whatever the thing is, I break it out into 2 different phases. So you have the first phase, which is the vision phase, where you're like, I have a vision of what we're trying to do. We want to pay off all this debt, or we want to save up money for retirement, or we want to be able to, buy a car with cash, or whatever the thing is. And during that vision phase, everything moves slower than you anticipate, right? And this is similar to what he's talking about, like with that boulder. It takes a while to just start getting it to move, and it moves slower than you think it should. And so it can be very discouraging. But what happens is there's this tipping point where you cross over to what I'm calling the momentum phase. And at that point, everything starts moving faster than you anticipate.
Yeah.
So that linear line is an illusion. And at the beginning, it's not moving as fast as that linear line. And on the second half, once you get into the momentum phase, it's moving way faster than you anticipated.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to keep fighting for, to get to that momentum phase where it is that snowball rolling downhill and getting bigger. And it is so fun when you hit that, because we've hit this at multiple different points. We hit it when we were paying off debt, where it just felt like, wow, we are just trucking along. Like every month, it's like going faster and faster and faster. And in the same way with like retirement savings or trying to pay off our house or all these different things, it's like we hit that point, and it is so fun when you get there. So don't be discouraged if you're still in that vision phase on anything.
Right.
You just have to keep fighting through. Just keep fighting through.
Yeah.
Trust that you're going to hit the momentum phase, and it's going to be worth it.
Yep. Amen.
All
That's
right.
good.
You want to talk about your number 7?
Yeah,
now?
number 7. As Christians and as believers, like this is something that has to be in here, because it gets your mind off of yourself. It gives you a vision and a purpose for your life that is beyond what can make me the most happiest.
Yeah, the most happiest.
The most happiest. I mean, I even remember one day I was in a really bad mood, and I was like, man, I just cannot get out of this. And I was struggling to figure out, I was like, Lord, what do I do? And I remember you had a friend coming over that night, and I felt like the Lord was like, hey, what if you just go make them brownies? And I was like, that's not fun for me. Like that's kind of what I thought. I mean, I was like, I love brownies, and I'll definitely eat one. But I was like thinking, I want to go get a milkshake, and or see a movie, or, something along those lines, of something that would make me gratify my own flesh. And instead, it was an act of service that pulled me out of that mood.
Yep.
And so this is something, giving in any capacity, really,
Yeah.
I think changes your perspective on money.
It is amazing. I I feel like I've noticed this over and over again. Like when you're feeling depressed, discouraged, or whatever, you're always, and you can, if you're listening, check this with yourself. But like for me, every single time I'm thinking about myself. And then as soon as I flip that switch to how can I think about someone else and be a blessing to them? How can I give to someone? How can I love on someone? How can I blah, 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 blah. Like it always just pulls you out. It's focusing on you and thinking about you. And then when you flip that, like it just changes it. And it's exactly like your situation you're talking about. And I've seen that so many times. So that's really good.
Yeah. So I think we would be remiss if we did not have that one on the list. That one to me is the most important, honestly.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's so much about giving that has changed our perspective on money that.
Yes.
Yeah. And we could go on. We'll save that for another episode. But there's so much there.
Well, we've talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
You can read about it in our book. You can listen to it on probably a bunch of other podcasts that we've done.
Probably.
I think that's the number one thing that's changed my perspective.
Yeah. So anyway, those are our 7 tips. If you have any, let us know. We'd love to hear. Send us a DM on Instagram at SeedTime or send us an email, bob@seedtime.com. Let us know.
Bob at SeedTime.
And and if you ever have podcast suggestions, let us know. If you have questions, send them our way. Because we don't do... Yeah, I don't feel like we answer a lot of reader questions on here, but we could do more.
We could do more, yeah. If you have a question, for sure.
Yeah, and I kind of want to do some case studies and stuff too. So anyway, just send us some messages. Let us know what's on your mind. Let us know what you'd like to hear, and we'll go from there. So that's all.
Hope
we'll
you
see you
have
next
a great
time.
day. We really love creating fresh content for you each week, but if you have not checked out our book, Simple Money, Rich Life, this really is our best work, and we have some free resources we want to tell you about.
So if you enjoy listening to our soothing voices, then you can download Chapter 1 of the audiobook.
And if you prefer to read, we have the first 2 chapters of the ebook version.
Or we even have a 5-week book study outline based on this book. And you can download all of this for free at seedtime.com/sample.